Welcome to the Men Tell All, or shall we say the Men Tell Little. I'm recapping the show so you don't have to watch, but in this video, I'm analyzing what a good apology is and isn't, and what you can tell by reading Rachel and Gabby's body language. Good news, I won't be spamming you with any ads. Welcome to Reality TV Therapy with me, Dr. Diane. Welcome back. How are you? I hope you're doing well. We're getting close to the end of season 19. Can you believe it? We have one more hometown, and in this episode, we're talking about the Men Tell All. Now, let's start with Aven's hometown. It happened in Salem, Massachusetts. The woman, might I say the witch, was very interesting. What did you think? She had a difficult accent for me to place. I'm like, where is she from? Is this a Massachusetts accent? But she did a love spell or a potion. And is this a plant? Of course it is. Say something like, Aven hasn't said much. That'll get him to talk and tell Rachel that he loves her. So, interesting enough though, when it comes to the parents, yet again, I'm apprehensive, and I know Rachel's nervous. She said,
I truly am shaking, like my teeth are chattering.
So nervous. Why? Because she's had 2 bad hometown visits, right? Tyler, she sent home, and Tino. Tino's parents were difficult. So she's only had 1 good hometown with Zach. Of course, Rachel is going to be nervous. And Aven hasn't primed it too much. Did he tell his parents? They haven't been together in the same room in 7 years. And by the way, the parents haven't liked anyone that he's brought home. So no wonder Rachel is nervous. But here's what I really liked. I liked that they met at a restaurant. That seemed like a neutral territory. And I liked overall that the parents warmed up, right? At first, they were hesitant, like Tino's parents, but what Rachel did is she was gracious and kind, and the parents gave in. Of course they're cautious, all parents are, we talked about that, but they understood that Rachel is taking the process incredibly seriously, and they saw how happy their son was. So it felt really good. We're like, take a sigh of relief that the visit overall went well. Because I do think Rachel likes Aven. He is a sweetheart. He's a lovely man. And the parents were smart to kind of get on board. Okay, so now we'll get to the Men Tell All. First up, this guy, Roby. Interesting look. We saw him last time. He was the magician. Now he's bleached blonde. This yellow kind of hair. Not sure that I liked that look at all. And all the men, by the way, are wearing these short pants. I thought this was European fashion that was long gone. Have the men not gotten the memo? Anyway, as we see it, there are no obvious villains here. Chris and Hayden were not there. And I wondered if that isn't a reason why this episode to me felt boring. Because a secondary thing to think about is the men aren't auditioning for Bachelor in Paradise. This Gabby and Rachel season wrapped up in May. They started filming Bachelor in Paradise in May. It goes only 3 weeks. So none of the men are auditioning. That's why we don't see as much kind of banter. They're not trying as hard. But we do see a couple people who are in Bachelor in Paradise trying to do some impression management. But a caveat about the tell-all, because I was in attendance at Peter's tell-all, the Women Tell All. And what's really fascinating that you should know is that the reactions, by the way, in the audience are not real time. Why? Because what happens is before the men come in, or the women, what they do is they pan the audience and they say, look, clap and applaud and be surprised and go, oh, and they film that because they only have 2 or 3 cameras and they can't be filming the audience reaction and the men at the same time. So watching that, you don't quite get that, but that's the fascinating behind the scenes. Okay, As always, I want to teach you something in this video. What can we learn in particular? Because what I do love about the tell-alls, it's really kind of a redemption moment. You either take the moment and do a really good apology, or you double down, and that's not a good look. Let's start with what I thought was the best apology, one of the only apologies, Jacob. Jacob, if you recall, the man with the hair, came night one on the horse, plays Tarzan, doesn't wear clothes. They gave him the fig leaf. But he did a really nice job. Yes. On the apology, right? Jacob said to the men first, and then later to Gabby and Rachel, looked at the camera and said,
yeah, look, there's no excuses for my actions. I was rude, I was selfish, I was ignorant of her feelings.
And then he said he was also learning from it. This was something that I'd like to see, because it shows a level of awareness that I really like. Now, who is Jacob? Well, there's some interesting information I didn't like. I think it was in episode 2, right? He came out and said that he wants to be with a woman who takes good care of herself. And there is a website called Roses for Everybody where they called him out and said that he's maybe a fat phobic kind of guy. And that's okay, Jacob. Like somebody who's athletic like you. But the emphasis on it has made other people uncomfortable. And when he said to Gabby what he did, if you were the only person left, that wouldn't work for me, that felt harsh. It just felt like it had a tone of negativity that really he didn't need to say. So we're going to be watching. Jacob, can you filter better? You don't need to share all of your inside thoughts with other people. I'm hoping that's a lesson he learns. Now, Roby, by the way, called him out and said that this was selfish, that this was rude behavior. And Jacob listened. Roby also has something to say about Meatball.
Man up, have some balls, Meatball.
I didn't even know what he was talking about, but what I did like is Ethan. Ethan, who said, Roby, let's, poof, magic, you should go away. That I thought was a really nice kind of witty response. All right, who are the other guys that we saw on the stage? A few of them I didn't know their names, but Logan, he was there. Nothing new here. He says he's going with his heart. But what was missing here, he didn't take full accountability. He talked about what it was like to not decide between which woman. But what he really needed to do, and this was a big miss for me, he didn't look at the guys and say, you guys, looking back on this, I realized it was so selfish of me to take up so much of your precious time. And you missed out on precious time with these women because of me and my story. And for that, I apologize. Didn't hear that, okay? That was a miss. Now let's go to the next person, which is Nate. I have been waiting on this. I really do like to get my data from the source. I want to hear from the person. What do they have to say? I have been waiting to hear Nate's response. As we know, there have been rumors out there that Nate was dating multiple women. He wasn't even divorced. One of those women in particular, he did not tell or mention that he had a child. And her perception was that they were actually in a full-blown relationship. What does Nate have to say for himself? Well, Nate starts out, of course, wanting to talk about positive feelings towards his daughter and how she's made such an impact in his life. And then he doubles down and talks about how difficult dating has been. But this is where this goes wrong for me again. He says that he wanted to protect his daughter from women and from his single life or his choices. I'm not sure of the word, but he used the word dangerous.
I would never bring her into a situation that I feel is dangerous.
And this, to me, I have questions about. I really want to know more. But this apology didn't quite hit the mark for me. So when he used the word dangerous, to me it sounded a little bit like what we had heard from Peter and Dustin on Bachelor in the City when they talked about this girl being a party girl. So is this person really dangerous? If they are, and that is the truth, then wouldn't we have receipts, okay? If in fact Nate started dating somebody and then he was worried about her mental stability, or say she was a drug user or was in trouble with the law, wouldn't you go and file a restraining order? Wouldn't there be some kind of record of this dangerous person? But to me, it feels like we're going to pile this on this woman. First, Dustin and Pete called her a party girl. Now, if we're calling her dangerous, that's also kind of damning. And that, to me, wasn't Nate taking full accountability. So what I would have loved is if for Nate, and we finally got there. So now Jesse has to go at it again and say, well, now Bachelor Nation is really questioning whether what you had with Gabby, is that literally legit or not? And he full on, finally, Nate, get to this sooner next time. He says in the camera, I am sorry. I'm sorry if I led women on. I'm sorry if I wasn't really clear about the expectations, but for Gabby, I showed up full on. And then he says, and then he backtracks a little again and says, that was the old me. We haven't had enough time to know the new you. But this to me is problematic. And the only reason I think that we're building Nate up, Alex, said, oh, Nate, you're such a great guy, is because potentially he's going to be the next Bachelor. But the women will have to decide how they feel about that. Because whether you want to introduce your daughter to the woman that you're dating is one thing. But as a single person, you have the right to know the status of someone. And that's where we don't get to pick and choose. It should be something that you tell women regardless. Okay. So let's move on from this story. Now, Gabby and Rachel come out. I might say the two women look beautiful. Rachel loved this ombre dress. She looked fantastic, matches her hair, beautiful. Gabby, very fashionable. I really liked that dress. It had what was a lizard or, it was like a lizard. So cool. She looked great. Lots of skin. The two of them just looked radiant. I really do hope the smiles on their face were that they found their person. But the composure that they've both had, they are truly queens, these two women. And Mario comes for Gabby and says that I felt like you did me wrong. She's quick with the response. I felt you did me wrong too. And you know what, Mario? I wanted to be chosen and you were just too late. Such important information. If you go on a reality dating show, you don't have time and you need to make your intentions known from the beginning. That was a mic drop. For me, Gabby said,
but I also want to be chosen.
That is the truth. So Rachel apologizes graciously to the men that she had to cancel the group date. Everybody, Tyler still can say nothing wrong about her. Nate has said beautiful things to Gabby. That's all lovely. What's fascinating is that, as I mentioned, we have such little content in this show. Now we're going to get to see the ads, the Virgin cruise. Everybody gets a cruise. This is like the Oprah moment, and Jesse's giving out cruises. You get a cruise, you get a cruise. Okay, as a viewer, is that going to change my life? Absolutely not. It felt like a QVC commercial. Clips from other movies. I appreciate that. A gay rom-com. Yay, finally. But to me, it didn't feel like that was respectful, quite honestly, to Gabby or Rachel or to the men who got dressed up to come out to have more moments where we could actually get to know these guys. They could have showed us clips of Jason, Eric, and Aven, and Tino, and Zach. We could have got clips, I'm sorry, I'm missing one there, and Johnny, of these guys, so we got to know them a little bit more, but instead they're showing us bloopers. Instead, they're showing us these ads, and to me, that was a total mess. Okay, I think something's going on with production. I had understood that the person who had been at the helm, who'd been masterful, is now gone, has gone over to actually F-Boy Island. But this is where we are. So these two women, Rachel and Gabby, they're over it. If you looked at their body language, you could see. Now Jesse is saying, by the way, I'm so proud of you two. You did an amazing job in your friendship. And the look on their face, Gabby wears her feelings on her face. She's not having it. She's like, you guys did us wrong. We had to figure this out. We carried the show. And sure, we're going to be nice and we're going to smile and we're going to thank you. But you know what? If I'm Gabby, I'm going to take your job, Jesse, and I'm going to say it's blueberries. So I love that these two women are not naive in any way. They knew what they got into and they're going to see it through till the end. I'm really hoping that they both have a happy ending. This is the part about production that drives me crazy. They've teased us in so many ways that we don't know what the reality actually is. One time, you know, Logan, pack your bags. We don't see that. Then in the clips, even for the tell-all, Gabby was going to call somebody BS. She was going to actually defend Nate. They took those things out. So they show us one thing in the preview, and then in reality, they show us something else. Okay, how can I land all of this? As you know, I always like to end with a little bit of a reality check. The reality check is, are you taking accountability for your part in your relationships? Whether it's in dating or in your relationship, it is a skill to look at the person eye to eye, face to face, and say, I'm sorry, I hurt you. Don't double down. It'll only look defensive. Nobody wants to hear an explanation of why you did what you did. Apologize. Get straight to the heart, straight to the matter. I was lame. I was confused. I lack self-awareness, because we can all do better. ABC, we can do better too. Please don't waste our time. And I think we just want to see more content. Let me know in the comments what you think. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, and there'll be more soon.